Cast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining our September Florida Broker Roundtable on a daily plan for top producers, hosted by our Florida broker, Robert Milligan. Before we begin, I want to remind everyone of a few features that we have here at Allison James. First, I want to remind everyone about our live chat feature. When you log on to Allison James University, there is a blue bar at the bottom right of your screen. You can instantly get in touch with a member of our support team this way. Quickly chat us a question and we will solve your problem in just minutes. If we are logged off for the day, you can still use this feature. It's going to send us an email and we will get back to you as soon as we return to the office. Also, don't forget to look at the Learn section of Allison James University. This is where we keep all of our recorded webinars, Facebook Lives, and more. This is a great place for you to continue to grow your business. I believe that there's no such thing as learning too much. So jump in here and start watching videos about technology, expert talk, social media marketing, and more. If you have any questions about Allison James University or any of our other tools, you can also email us at support@ajicorporate.com. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started with our Florida Broker Roundtable. Remember, if you have any questions during this presentation, go ahead and type them in at the questions panel of your GoToWebinar control panel, and we will answer them all at the end. I will now pass it over to Robert Milligan. Hi, Robert.
Hi, Tori. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone that's taking a little time out to be with us here today as we talk about a daily plan for top producer. And it was kind of difficult for me to prepare some material for this because there's so much more to it than a daily plan. I feel like if you don't have your mindset properly tuned and you're primed for success, that it doesn't matter exactly what you're doing if you're not doing it particularly well. So we're going to talk about this from a few different angles, and I think the first place to start would be how you define what a top producer is. It can certainly be different for everyone. In our particular market, there are 30 agents who gross more than $1 million per year in gross commission income, and about 1,000 agents who make more than $100,000 per year in gross commission income. So our market is the Sarasota Manatee Realtor Association, and there are about 7,000 active realtors altogether. 2,000 of them have not earned a single penny, even though they're still actively paying board dues. So, I think it does stop to, and you have a luxury in this industry of pulling this kind of data from your MLS system to figure out, how you rank on the leaderboard, to figure out what some of the leaders in your market are in fact doing. So my definition of a top producer, which I think is a pretty good definition across most boards, is anybody who's in the top 5% of all the active agents in their marketplace. Like I said, in our market, there are about 5,000 active agents. So per my definition, the top 5% or 250 of them are top producers. So to get a little more specific there, the 250th person made a little more than $250,000 of gross commission income, and each person that ranks above this 250th person has earned all the way up to the top just a little bit less than $3.5 million in gross commission income during the last 12 months. So that is obviously an exceptional amount of income for a single agent, and this most likely is a team-based scenario, which we can talk about a little bit. But at $3.5 million in gross commission income for the last year, don't allow your mind to stop there. Your mind has a way of serving you exactly what you expect over time. So I'm going to change gears a little bit and talk more about the daily routine. And we are fortunate at Allison James to enjoy having a lot of top producing agents. And over time, getting to know these agents and other productive agents, they all have their unique attributes. But they all have some commonality as well. And the most often recurring theme that I've observed is that the top producers share two guiding principles that both are really in check. And one is their belief system, and the second guiding principle is their routine. So, without a belief system and without a good routine, without a good plan, it's not very probable that a person will end up as a top producer. And To speak about the belief system, to me, this is the most critical part of the equation, not only in this business, but in any business, because until you desire something with extreme intensity and believe that it's possible to happen, it just doesn't stand a chance. So I think it's important to dig deep in your past. Maybe you have to work on yourself a little bit. We all have to work on ourselves continually, because sometimes we find that we have limiting beliefs that are unconsciously running in the background, and then we can then wonder why we are struggling and why we're not getting the results that we desire. So maybe subconsciously a person feels unworthy for success. Maybe they feel guilt or shame for being successful in relation to their peers that they're surrounded by. It's funny because when I started becoming successful, I just assumed that everybody would be as thrilled about it as I was, and that they'd all be high-fiving me along the path of success. And unfortunately, that just wasn't the case. Sometimes when you break through, it causes your peers to reflect on their lack of success, their lack of ability, their lack of willpower, desire, whatever the case is. Maybe sometimes they have a spouse that's telling them, why can't you be more like so-and-so? Why can't you work harder? Why can't you have the things that they have or do the things that they do? So, I think it also stands to reason that you really need to evaluate the people that you're spending most of your time with, because if they're not supporting you in this endeavor, it's really not an easy path to become more successful than average. It's obviously easy to be average, and sometimes it's lonely to be successful, but not if you align yourself with the right group of people who are feeding your success and nurturing your desire to grow and become a better person. So that's why I think it's essential that you work on yourself and you work on your mind, your belief system, and combine that with something that you specifically desire with extreme intensity, and you have to define it. And once you know what it is, then nothing will stop you, nothing will get in your way until you've reached your desired outcome. So, when I say that, it doesn't mean that you have all the right answers right away. And to be a success at a big level, you'll have to eventually hire staff and take some risks that may feel uncomfortable now. But if you know where you're going, it'll help you have the courage to keep moving towards your destination rather than just bouncing around at the same level indefinitely. So that's point number one, is your belief system. You have to have that on point. And then now on to point number two, which is perhaps why you got onto this webinar specifically, is your routine. Another great question to ponder would be, do the people who sell more than 100 homes per year, or the people that make $3.5 million in gross commission income, do they have more time in the day than you? How about the woman that I mentioned earlier? Does she have more hours or more minutes in her day? Of course she doesn't, but you have to have a routine that keeps you at peak performance constantly, because you can't show up for battle, and yes, I do mean battle, at a 50% energy level or focus. You will get slaughtered. There are about 5,000 agents in this market alone that all want to eat your lunch if you're real about it. They unfortunately don't care about you. They don't care about your goals, your kids, your family, your dreams. Do you think for a second that at your next listing appointment, if you ask the seller, could you please just let the other agents know that you're interviewing later on today or tomorrow, that my dream is to take my family to Disney World for a week next summer? If they could all just back off and let me have this listing, that would be great. Of course not. That's never going to happen. This is a business where grown men and women compete at the game of life, and you have to be tenacious. We're all guilty, and you can probably think of a handful of phone calls right now. I know that I can, that I probably should have made last week. But if you're putting it off, come on, we have to be top producers, and we have to do that by doing more than anyone else is willing to do, anyone. So so when it comes to routine, most all of the top agents, top producers that I know, they all get up pretty early. I would say 6 a.m. at the latest. For me, I think this is essential. I'm usually up at about 5:30. I'm at the gym, fully awake, and really getting at it by about 6 a.m. And I'm doing two things. I'm not aspiring to be a bodybuilder. That's pretty evident if you look at any photos of me. But I am priming my brain for success, and I'm also priming my body for peak energy levels throughout the day, because I'm feeding my brain with motivational podcasts and audiobooks, and I'm priming my body just to be at a peak energetic state as much as possible throughout the day. And it's proven that physical activity elevates your energy levels, and it encourages higher levels of brain activity. So, I can definitely say that some of my best business ideas have come to me during workouts, and I don't think that that's a coincidence. So, get up, have everything lined up the night before so you don't have to think about it. Have the clothes out, the coffee maker auto-programmed, whatever your routine it is. Have that set up and make it automatic each day. And then the next essential part, once you're up, you're ready. If you win the morning, you win your day. The next essential part of the top producer's day is prospecting. And this has to be a non-negotiable for you. This, to me, is the most important point. It has to be time blocked. It has to be marked on your calendar. You have to shut yourself off from the world, from your distractions. And this is an unmovable rock for top producers. There will always be bombs going off all around you in your business. And this is the main point that I hope that you take away from today's talk, because this is what totally separates the amateurs from the pros. What happens usually is that the amateur sells a few houses, and then you start getting bogged down in transaction management. You know, everything's on fire, everybody needs attention, and then, you know, you're basically stop prospecting while you're putting out all of these fires, and then next thing you know, you come up, you know, from those closings that you've been working on, and you realize, man, I didn't do anything to start prospecting, and I don't have anything in my pipeline for the next month. The top producers, and most of them that I know, spend their entire morning prospecting until lunchtime. I know a few people who are kind of extreme about it. They literally will deny themselves food at lunch if they didn't meet their appointment setting goals. You know, it's how they maintain their hunger, literally and figuratively. So, you know, if you're, whatever your metric is for prospecting, most top producers at some point kind of shift their focus in their business primarily to working with sellers and attracting new listings. So, you know, whatever your metric is, if you're attempting to book 2 listing appointments per day, or whatever your metric is, and that is kind of a common one that I see is about 2 listing appointments per day. Whatever that is, you got to stay on it, block that time every single day. A lot of these people even do it on the weekends. So, you know, other top producers are even more clever about it, and they actually hire and outsource their prospecting activity so that they have somebody else setting up their appointments. But have to be hungry. Matter of fact, you have to be starving. And I do like the idea that if you fail at your goal, you know, you don't get to eat until you met your goal. So the top producing agents, they all block, I would say, about at least 3 hours a day, every day, weekends included, to reach out and proactively solicit new business. And, you know, that doesn't have to be sellers, but oftentimes in a top producing situation where a realtor is earning a higher than average income, that is generally working with sellers. And they, you know, enable that time and space to be completely uninterrupted by the transactional circumstances that inevitably come up. And, you know, a lot of times top producers build teams and they build structures and staff to support these kinds of activities. But prospecting rather is the unmovable rock that they almost invariably focus on. So, you know, at some point, maybe, and I believe at about $100,000 per year in annual income, that it makes sense to start thinking about at a minimum an assistant, and start kind of building some structures and some processes and getting some help, so that you can keep the main thing, which is definitely prospecting. And, you know, again, a little more specifically, what I mean by that is usually phone prospecting, and you can follow it up with text, with email. You know, whatever your system is, you know, you just have to have the highest impact possible, because there's a lot of passive ways to prospect. But don't kid yourself. If you're not making a high impact encounter with people and having very direct conversations, you know, it's not going to be as effective. So for most top producers, for the rest of your day, lunch and afternoons are set for in-person meetings, phone calls, emails, all the necessary but unimportant stuff that will sabotage your entire day if you leave it unchecked. And you know, for me, the biggest hurdle is to recognize and overcome in this business that, you know, if you allow the things that are unimportant but necessary, they will completely consume your entire day. And you know, they're going to take control and actually drown out the vision that you have of where you're going. And if you don't have a very strong vision of where you're going to begin with, they will definitely cloud your judgment and just hijack your day. And I think that, you know, we are in a service business, and it's, to me, essential to be happy in this profession, because you and your customers, you deserve the happiest version of yourself. And you need to be in a peak state whenever you're having these encounters for your customers. And so for me, it's pretty easy to define what equates to happiness, and also what contributes to misery. For me, misery is urgent but unimportant tasks that steal all of your time and energy away from making progress. And of course, happiness is the exact opposite of that. Happiness is having a vision and a plan that allows for daily progress, even if it's only incremental, that you can look back at the end of your day and you know that you're a step closer towards your goal. There's a book I love, the infamous book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And he said that you will never be any more successful than your plan is sound. I love that. I'll say it again. You will never be any more successful than your plan is sound. So you have to make a sound plan and try it out. And if that doesn't work, try again. And if that doesn't work, revise your plan and try again and again until you reach your goals. So, that's basically it, Tori. I hope that something that I said here helps you focus on your journey. And there are some potentially more specific things that we can go into at another time about the daily routine of a top producer, specifically what they're doing and what systems they're using and that sort of a thing. But I mean, that basically categorizes how they're spending your time. And I know that those were some simple points, but if you actually do the things that I recommend and actually block the calendar and block the time, and you actually spend your time prospecting, it's inevitable that you eventually fill your pipeline with new customers and don't let anything get in your way. And it's busy, and you'll just keep your head down, you'll work, and maybe 6 months from now or 12 months from now, you lift your head up for a second from your work and you say, wow, that's incredible. I've significantly multiplied the amount of business that I'm doing. And it doesn't matter if you know all the details how you're going to do it, but the main thing is that you know what you want to do and you commit to doing it, and all those details will sort themselves out. So hope that something that we said helps you on your journey. And of course, I am always available for your questions and support. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Robert. We got a few thank yous and good talks in the questions box. So thank you very much for sharing all of your knowledge. If you guys have any topics that you want Robert to cover on any future webinars, please feel free to send those over to me. You can actually send them to the support@AGI corporate email. Oop, I'm going backwards. And I'll put that on the screen right here so you can see that. You can send it to support@AGI corporate. Any future topics you may want Robert to talk about, we'd love any feedback, of course. But thank you everyone so much for joining us on a Florida Broker Roundtable. And of course, a special thank you to Robert for putting together such a great topic and presentation. We will see you all next month for another Florida Broker Roundtable. Thanks again for joining, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. Bye.